Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Fear. I'm your host Zishan, and today I've got something that will keep you awake tonight. I'm going to take you on a terrifying journey through one man's name Rehan embarks on a solo vacation to a remote and picturesque town, seeking peace and solitude. Everything seems perfect until he starts noticing subtle, eerie signs that he is not alone. So let's explore the main story. Rehan had been craving some peace, a break from the noise and chaos of his life. That's why he chose this small remote town tucked away between the forest and mountains, a place far from the crowds, where time seemed to stand still. Everything about the town was charming, almost too perfect, with its cobblestone streets and old buildings like a postcard frozen in time. But there was something off about it from the moment he arrived. On his first night at the inn, he thought he saw someone standing at the edge of the forest watching him through his window. It was just a fleeting glance, a shadowy figure that seemed to disappear the moment he blinked. He brushed it off, thinking it was his mind playing tricks after a long journey. But that feeling, that sensation of being watched, never really left. The next few days were strange. Everywhere he went, he felt eyes on him. The locals, at first glance friendly, seemed to follow him with their gaze. When he passed by the old shops, he could see them peeking out from behind curtains, staring at him as if he were an outsider who didn't belong. But when he turned to confront them, they would quickly look away, pretending as though nothing was wrong. It got worse. He started finding signs, creepy, personal signs. One day, while walking near the edge of town, he stumbled upon something that made his blood run cold. A photograph, a picture of him sitting in his room taken only a few hours earlier. But how? He had been alone. The innkeeper, a frail old man with a sickly smile, simply shrugged when Rehan confronted him, saying, "In this town, you're never really alone." That night, the whispers started. Soft at first, like the wind slipping through the cracks of the old building, but as the hours passed, they grew louder. Voices, hushed but clear, calling his name from the shadows of his room. He leapt from his bed, searching every corner, but no one was there. Only the darkness, and the feeling of countless eyes watching him. Desperate for answers, Rehan began searching for the truth about the town. In the dusty corners of the local library, he found old records, articles about tourists who had visited just like him, and vanished. The eerie part? The locals always claimed they saw shadows following the tourists before they disappeared, shadows that shouldn't have been there. And then, the journal, a small, tattered book belonging to one of the missing tourists. Its final entry was almost too much for Rehan to handle. "They're always watching, always. I can't escape them." Panic began to set in. The locals knew. They had to know what was happening, but no one would talk. When he finally confronted a shopkeeper, trembling with fear, the man whispered, "Once you see them, they see you. You've been marked." It was then that Rehan realized the truth. The watchers weren't just some figment of his imagination. There was something in this town, something ancient, dark and hungry. And now, it had chosen him. With his mind racing and his heart pounding, he decided to leave. But leaving wasn't going to be that easy. That night, as he packed his things, the air in his room grew colder. The whispers returned, but this time they weren't just outside, they were inside. Shadows began to move along the walls, slowly stretching toward him, reaching out like hands trying to pull him into the darkness. The knocking came next, sharp, loud, and insistent. He opened the door, but no one was there. Just an old, strange symbol carved into the wood, a mark that sent shivers down his spine. Running to his car, Rehan fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking uncontrollably. The shadows were everywhere now, flitting between the trees, watching him from the corners of his vision. He could feel them closing in. But when he finally got in his car and tried to start the engine, nothing. The watchers were getting closer. They were whispering his name louder and louder. In a blind panic, he abandoned the car and sprinted into the forest. The thick fog swallowed him, and he barely saw the old, decrepit cabin until he was practically at its doorstep. With no other choice, he ran inside. What he found in that cabin made his stomach churn. It was filled with the lost possessions of the missing tourists, photos, letters, trinkets, everything left behind by those who had been watched and taken. In the center of the room, he discovered something even darker, an altar, ancient and covered in strange symbols. It dawned on him then, this was the source of the curse, the place where it all began. If he could destroy it, maybe, just maybe, he could break free. Summoning every ounce of courage, Rehan shattered the altar, breaking the symbols. The whispers stopped, the shadows froze, and for the first time in days he felt the weight of the watchers lift from his shoulders. It was over. He had survived, or so he thought. As Rehan drove out of town, his phone buzzed, regaining signal for the first time since he arrived. He glanced down at the screen. There was a new message waiting for him. When he opened it, his blood ran cold. It was a photo of him, sitting in his car, leaving the town. And in the reflection of his rearview mirror, he saw them, glowing eyes watching him from the back seat. And that was Rehan's terrifying journey into the unknown. Just when he thought he had escaped the watchers, they were closer than ever, reminding us that sometimes, no matter how far we run, we can't escape what's already watching us in the shadows. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next time we venture beyond the fear. Until then, keep your eyes open, because you never know who might be watching.